finally it is working. So now, like, this, of course, the computer tries to explode when I'm talking to you about this topic in particular. Y'all, this is Cody Loughlin, my brother from another mother.
My sister from another mister.
Yes,
let's do this.
Yes. And we're talking about what is a visionary. Like, define it. What is a visionary? What does that mean? Why does a business need a visionary? With how creating that? And I don't want to hear it from Google. I don't want to hear it from Wikipedia or from some dusty, crusty like dictionary hiding on somewhere in the. No, I want to hear it from somebody like you, Cody, who has journeyed deep into this, understands it intimately, has lived it multiple times over, and while I'm in the midst of the tech blowing up just now, y'all, he was like, "Oh, you need an integrator."
Got caught.
Red-handed. You caught me red-handed, and I love you for it. Oh my gosh! Before we launch into it, people watching this live stream are like, "Why is Victoria so excited about Cody Loughlin?" Can you tell us who you are, my brother from another mother? Can you tell them who you are, what you do, where people can find you, please?
Yeah. This is always the most awkward part for me. Like, I've done 200 podcast interviews, and I still have a hard time like introducing myself. But for this purpose of what we're talking about today, with being a visionary, I've opened up 14 different companies. 10 of them failed. The other 4 I've done over $200 million in sales. I've been in the Inc. 5000 twice. I've done 4 companies into the 7 and 8 figures per year, and so I also was a commercial banker, and so I went into thousands of different businesses after I learned some really valuable lessons about how not to be an entrepreneur. And this is part of where the visionary part is so meaningful to me, because I believe every entrepreneur is a visionary, because you ask for a non-crusty definition. If you want mine, you see things that aren't there. And so if you have created a business that wasn't there before you got there, you are a visionary. Now, how you harness and use their powers down the road, we're going to dive into a little bit. I can't wait to talk to you about this, because I have a real life story about what it did to me impactfully, not only just mentally, physically, but financially. When I learned these concepts and then I stayed in my lane, it exploded all my time, my life, my family time, just everything for me got so much better from learning the concepts of what a visionary and what I call an operator. And some of the books will call them an integrator, but I call them an operator. And I realized out of the 4 businesses I built that were successful and that had very, that were profitable and got into those big numbers, those 7 and 8 figure numbers annually, I had operators. I didn't know at the time there was what I was and what they were, but when I did learn about it, it was a classic definition. And so when we became aware of the opportunities and who we were, not just titles, right? You're a founder. You're probably a visionary, right? If you're a founder, but that doesn't mean that you stay in that role, And so when we hop into this subject, it's very personal to me, but I also can show you how applicable it is, because where you're along the entrepreneurial journey, you have to adjust the differences of a visionary so that you can stay and maximize the things that you're going to do to drive your companies. And also, it's not just financially, but mentally and spiritually and physically. These things are all tied together when you're sitting together and in that. And so as you begin to drain one side of those cups, it's not like the other ones fill up. They all drain at the same time. And so because they're connected. And so I can't wait to talk to you about this.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to explode, because like everything you said is like I'm screaming yes, like I'm at the Super Bowl right now.
Well, look at my sign right here. This is the definition of a visionary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It says either I will find a way or I will create a way, but I will not create an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that's one of the attractants of being a visionary and being an entrepreneur and being a business leader, right? Mm-hmm. We don't let tech get in our way. Mm-hmm. It's no big deal. right? We don't let we search problems. We look for problems to go solve. And that's what we do as entrepreneurs. That's the definition of being an entrepreneur, is finding a problem and solving it in either a more efficient way, in a better way, or just in a way that makes it part of your contribution to the world.
So our orientation is to the problems as an opportunity for creation and contribution.
100%. When I see things moving the wrong way, or we throw our hands up and complain, I'll give you an example. I started a podcast called Money Talkers. The Money Talkers podcast is to help educate children by connecting them through their parents, because our schools refuse to teach about money, entrepreneurship, and successful mindsets, the things that have been most valuable to me in my life that I should have learned. And that's an opportunity to me.
Mm-hmm.
We can all agree. We were in the coaching class with 2,500 people. I never met a single person that was like, I'm pretty glad we didn't learn any of that in school. Right. And I said, okay, well, are you, we all agree it's the wrong way to handle it. Right. Like, and so what do? Run at it, man. We run at problems. That's our, sometimes we go down with arrows in our back, but you know what? We go down swinging.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone down massively swinging. And that's part of the reasons that I think it's very important to talk about these subjects, because, in our passion and in our blazing glory, we sometimes will neglect to think that there's a pathway that's already been walked before us. And we don't, by nature, follow pathways because we're blazers, right? And so we can go down sometimes too far down the wrong path, or we don't fill the holes behind us and find people to do those things that are going to succeed in success at them. Because there are things that we should not be doing as visionaries, because it doesn't maximize our potential, and it also doesn't make us feel very good, right? Mm-hmm. So, and we know that, and we continue to do it anyway until we either burn out, close a business, or we find somebody that's going to either be there to do the pieces that we need them to do so that we can drive the business.
Mm-hmm. And the burnout and closing businesses and burnout and closing businesses and burnout, it can be this crazy cycle. And what you tell me, at least this is what I've seen, but you tell me what you've seen, because you are further along this than I am, but I'm catching up to you, brother. Yes. What I've seen is that there's this mindset and having like an entrepreneurial mindset that is closed off to being the visionary of the company, of where, oh, no, I'm not the visionary. I am the operator. I'm everything. I'm chief cook, bottle washer. I'm the guy that's going to be the host at the front. It's like, oh, you want to eat at this restaurant? Let me take you to the chair. I'm going to build the chair that you sit in, cook the food, wash the dishes, and run it. There's this crazy mindset and self-image of I've got to do it all. And what I'm personally, so I've seen this with my clients over and over and over again. And as you know, when you work with people, they tend to mirror some of your energy. And so I am in the thick of letting go and allowing my integrator, Jennifer, who is incredible, to step in and really get more done. And my integrator has an integrator, and we have a good 30-person team. So I can step back when I'm trying, I am in the thick of this transition personally myself. And so my community is as well, of changing my self-image. Mm-hmm. From the soul prop, or even in the because I do energy healing and that type of stuff. So just being the person who delivers the service, right? So the healer, from that to the visionary, where I'm stepping back and leveraging up. There's this mindset and self-image shift, and I wonder, how did that happen for you, Cody? Or did that happen for you? Is that what you saw? What? Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so let me back up a minute, because you touched on something there that emotionally it's hard to let go of these pieces, right? And the reason is because to be a visionary, you need to be an entrepreneur, you have to find a problem to go solve in the first place. And so, but generally you're on your own, right? You might have a person or maybe two, right? Most people don't start with much capital, right? And you're running. So you are all those things, right? And so you know how you want it done in your business, and nobody does it better than me. But you know what? If you are in the mindset that you can go open a business and create things, there's somebody who likes to wash bottles better than you. There's somebody who likes to cook better than you. There's somebody who likes, because what you truly like is not really that. What you truly like is you like the creation. You love the problem solving. The problem that you have is the ability to let go, to realize that somebody else can do this job better, or maybe they can't do it better than you, but they will do it more consistently than you will. They don't need to go worry about payroll while they're washing dishes, right? They're washing dishes. They take care of that stuff. The business to thrive. You have to be that chief of everything to start off with. Where most businesses either stagnate or fail is that they don't transition from that I'm everything, or I got my hands in everything, to releasing those responsibilities to somebody else, and then being the supporter, not the doer. Right? You have brilliant moments in your mind. You solve problems. You'll see somebody who's doing an operation over and over again and walk over and go, "Why are you doing it this way?" They're like, "Well, that's the way we've always done it." You want to see the hair go above the back of my neck? That's the way we've always done it. It means we agree that we all know this is probably not the best way to do things, right? But unless you push that button, if you're busy doing the doing, you don't have time to go fix and make better and be more efficient or drive the revenue side of it, which is what you should be. So when you say, well, if I'm, I do healing 6 hours, my 8 hours a day because I'm the best at it and I should be doing that. Well, guess what? The money that the company is making while you're doing your healing could be tripled if you had 3 healers, and probably 6x to 10x if you were busy with no time on your hands. Because guess what, Victoria? You solve problems. And if you don't have a problem to solve, you go find the problems to solve. But if you're doing the doing, you don't go find the problems. Mm-hmm. You're too busy. You're in the thick of it, right? Like, as you mentioned. And so for me, the freeing part of really realizing what these were, because one of the things was I heard the description of a visionary, right? And I was like, oh boy, I am getting hit on the head. I'm the nail, because this is just, it was bad, right? Like, it was all the cool things at first. And I was like, oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah. And then it was like all the bad stuff. I was like, oh, that's me. Ooh, oh yeah, that's me. Right. And so, in my own experience, I didn't realize these roles. Right. And so I think you've known, like, I had a story, like, I was a millionaire at 27 years old, had 4 companies, and I just really thought I knew business by the world, right? And there were some really, really good attributes that are entailed to a visionary, right? Like, I made fast decisions. I said, I don't know the answer, but we're going to figure it out. But that's just where we're going, right? I was able to identify the target of where we wanted to go. Oh yeah, well, we want to hit $500,000 in commissions this year. What? We did 200 last year. Yeah, we're going to do 5. Well, how are we doing it? I don't know yet, right? Follow me. We're going to figure this out. Every single day, we're going to get a little better at this, right? And then we go, okay, we got to 5. We're doing 1 million. Like, what? Why do you keep doing this? And it's like, because I can't turn it off. And it was a great piece. Now, my problem was I didn't do anything to study business because I was too confident and had my blinders on, right? Because it was like, okay, I'll figure this out. Okay, I'll figure this out. I never took the time to learn. So one of the reasons when at 28 years old, when everything crashed, I was $700,000 in debt, had no income, no job, foreclosures, just IRS liens, like everything just flipped in a year and a half. And I had to sit there and have a moment and say, you know what? I might be really good at ringing the bell, but I have no idea how to run a business. Like, no earthly idea. Like, honestly. I had to look in that mirror, and so I did. So I became what do I do? Well, I don't know how to run a business. Well, who knows how to run businesses? Business owners. All right. Well, who talks to business owners? Bankers talk to business owners. All right. I'm a banker. Right. And I just went and became a commercial banker.
I love you.
I was like, who's going to give me all their financials? I was like, they got to give them to the bank. Like, I'm going to be a banker, and I went and interviewed. There's a long story, but I had no business getting this job, but I did. And then sure enough, man, I started walking businesses all over the place, and I saw what you see now, which are patterns, right? One of the beautiful things that I've been blessed with in my life is that it's a blessing and a curse. It's a little OCD, but I see patterns really quickly, right? And I started learning what good business owners and bad business owners were doing. So then I realized I didn't know there were 6 pieces to business, and I was only really concentrating on about 3 of them. The rest of them didn't matter. I love sales. I love marketing. I I really liked operations, like at least like getting better at it. But I left out, I left out finance. It was a shoebox at the end of the year to the accountant. Like, I don't know, tell me what I owe. I didn't like HR. Like I'm really, it's not my strong suit. And to be honest with you, the attribute of most visionaries is not a strong suit in people management. Okay. We think we do. We think we're smart, but boy, you got to explain something 3 times to somebody and watch your back of your head blow off because you can't understand. And it's like, why don't you have drive? And it's like, what? Like, no, dude, like that's not, you're not handling people very well. Right.
I love you so much. Okay.
Right. And then the other part was, on the management side, it was boring. Like, I don't like standard operating procedures and I'll just figure it out. Like we have these mindsets, but so fast forward, I started working in an RV dealership of all places. And 2 years in, buy the company. Great, this is awesome. We drive the company up. We drove it to about $37 million in sales, and we had a company come in to buy us, publicly traded company, and they gave us an offer. They gave us we're coming through. This looks great. They came to the dealership. We sat down. We had an amazing meeting, and a week later they rescinded the offer. And so what happened? Like you guys, we were running a tight ship. We're doing well. And they said, no, the problem is that when we want to buy your company, if we pull you guys out, that's going to fall apart because you guys are doing 90% of the work. And it was really kind of like, what do you mean? Like we have 100 people working here. Like, you know what I mean? Like type of thing. And so we went searching and stumbled across one of my favorite books in Traction. And just really started digging into it. I mean, really digging into it. Oh yeah. And so we really started digging into it and we started implementing it. And then as I got through Traction, I started reading the next series up, Rocket Fuel. And that's when it really dove into, the characteristics of a visionary, the characteristics of an integrator, why they're important and how it works. Yeah. And it was some soul searching in there, man, because it was like, okay, let's really, we took it to heart. And so we had all of our management staff and everybody read the book. We actually would read it partially. And we did the meeting series where we started implementing everything. And a year later, oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 1 year later.
What's a visionary? I can't. It's so hard. I better stop. Keep going, Cody.
Oh yeah. So listen, 1 year later they came back and they said, hey, we want to buy you guys again. And I said, okay, great. Well, let's make sure you want to do that this time before we go down the rabbit hole again. And we actually had a couple offers on the table. They came in and they said, oh yeah, things are different. Well, yeah, they are. Guess what? We 10x the bottom line. We had management and staff. We had accountability in place. My life was nearly as hectic. We were able, myself and the integrator, we'll call him, had defined our roles and stuck in our lanes. And we were stuck at $37 million for 3 years. We went to $51 million in sales in 1 year. And which is a massive difference. And it was operationally smoother. I was sleeping better at night. I wasn't carrying this luggage home with me of worries and problems. And what's the monkeys, the 1 minute monkey manager? Like there's a part in there too, where I'd like to kind of give a little bit. And when I get some of the practical tips that you want to do for visionaries, but they came in, they said, we want to buy you guys now. And I said, that's fantastic, but here's the new price. And they were like, what are you thinking? And I'm like, what do you mean? What am I thinking? You see what's going on here. I was like, you're not gonna be able to afford us next year. And so we ended up, we made the deal and things worked out. And so it's very, very, important to me to understand these characteristics and to get into your lanes and have some examples of where people have done these, not just, I hit it big, I caught the lottery type of stuff. It's like, no, these are implementable pieces, but by freeing up the operational side and allowing me to do where I was most valuable to the company, ideas, support, and jumping in and really digging through each role inside of the company, right? Finding out where the problems were and going to solve them around different parts of the company, just day to day like stuff. But for me, it was like I was just bouncing to individual. We had several dealers. It was going in there, like talking to the technicians all the way from the ground up to the very top, and then finding any of their problems and solving them. And all of a sudden, the oiled machine just started going, And I will say this, that one of the freeingest things for me on the visionary side of it was there's two things. One, there's the piece where there's a conversation and the dad is writing back from war. And if I would have had more time, I would have wrote a shorter letter. Right. And so what that really meant to me was 3-hour meetings don't necessarily have the impact of 20-minute, really high series impact, for coming into a meeting. There isn't a difference. There's a big difference between volume and results, right? A lot of us equate because we grow up in per hour payments, right? So we think the more we work, the more money I'm going to make. I can tell you what, the more and more that dealership went up, the less and less money I made, and the more hours I was working, and the more frustrated I was, and the more dark cloud that was over my head going home at night, and the dark cloud that was over me going to work in the morning, because it wasn't fun anymore, right? I wasn't doing the things that I was good at. I was doing the things that a CEO was supposed to do, right? Like, who defines that? So that part of being impactful now, I live by that. I've taken the concept by Russell Brunson of the big domino, which is a marketing concept, and says, if I can knock down your biggest disbelief, all your other disbeliefs will go away. All your objections to what I'm trying to sell you, right? I just got to find your big disbelief. Well, I took that and I took it into time management. And I said, if I knock down the biggest needle mover in my business today, this week, whatever it is, all the other ones don't matter. And as a visionary, it's vital that you do this, right? That email doesn't matter. You may think it matters. That unless it's an email that moves the needle, it don't matter. If you're looking at your statistics for your website and it's not moving the needle, it doesn't matter. If you have this big, scary audacity thing sitting on your whiteboard right now, go do it. Okay? You do it first. You do it well. You knock that out, because nobody else on your team can do that. Because you have to be able to see past A to B. You have to be able to see C, right? And you're the visionary, and that's part of it. You see things that other people don't see. That's how you created a company. Now, the other thing inside of that, inside of the lessons that I learned on the visionary track during that year was, and this one hurt, I'll be honest with you, because it stung really bad. So the saying I heard was, more harm is done by indecision than wrong decisions. Okay. Now let that sink in for a minute, because when you are in survival mode and you are building this company with one other person, with maybe two other people who are temporary, right? Wrong decisions, you feel can sink your company. Okay. It's very easy to train yourself when you get to 100 people to feel the same way. Okay. If I had learned this earlier, we would have been on a rocket ship out of here. Because what I found out was the more people, the more questions I was taking, the less answers I was giving. Right. And when we align the company to show our staff who you ask certain questions to, then my time freed up. Yes. And I took the path for because I needed to break the habit for myself. Because when someone asked me a question, whether it was like, hey, do you want, Downey or Charmin? It's like, I don't know. Like, let me think about it. Like, I want to make the right decision, right? It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, we need security cameras. Like, all right, let me spend 2 days researching them. Like, dude, what are you doing, right? I was like, and so what I found out was, I decided, I was like, look, man, I'm taking all this stuff on my shoulders, and I'm not putting any responsibility in anybody else. I'm also not believing in them, right? And that hurt because I realized, I said, you know what? I don't know if you remember, there was a movie that Jim Carrey had called The Yes Man.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so he has to say yes to everything, right? Yeah. I kind of took that and I gave it a little different spin, and I said, I got to answer everything. And so for 2 weeks, I said, you know what? Whenever somebody asks me a question, I'm not going to say, let me think about it. Right. I said, indecision does more harm than wrong decision. I said, okay. I said, all right, it was so hard. And they asked me a question. Yeah, here's an answer. And they're like, well, okay. And then like, next person, question. Here's the answer. Like, is he okay? Like, I know they were chit-chatting about me outside of my office because they were like, is he all right? Like, what's going on? And so what I kind of found out, Victoria, was that not only was I taking about 40% of the questions and not giving an answer. So maybe 2 weeks later, I'd run into that person and I'd be like, oh, hey. And it was bothering me. And I'm like, hey, I forgot to answer your question. Like, here's the answer. And like, oh, okay. Like, thanks. Or I forgot about it. Or, we already made a decision type of thing. We couldn't wait for you, And I'm like, well, I've been taking all this brain space, right? Oh well, the real problem is that about 60% of the questions, somebody would walk up and see me in my office, just piled up on these questions, typing away. And they said, oh, he's too busy. And the questions never got asked. So it was worse than I thought. Wow. And so when that was what they were talking about when they came, I couldn't see the forest among the trees, right? I didn't know I was just being this bottleneck for my company. And when what you talk about, like stepping out and releasing yourself, you don't know the damage that you're doing being the almighty decision maker of everything out there, right? You train your people to do well. You give them enough leeway to make mistakes because guess what? You made them. So if you don't expect your people to make mistakes, right? You lay out your vision so they know where you're going. You open your door, you open your eyes, you open your ears and listen to their input on how to get there, right? And then you take that and you support it. You don't need to have the reins on your shoulders anymore. You don't need to make the decisions between, what color do you need on the business card. Okay. Those things are very trivial. If something is repeatable and teachable, pass it on because it's going to eat your brain space. And that's where your number one asset is. Mm-hmm.
I'm having I'm having a moment.
Sting a little bit.
Taking a bit to process all this awesomeness.
It stings a little bit. Don't get me wrong. Okay. So but I'll tell you what though, when I had time on my hands, it's weird because you think you can't afford somebody, right? I would also say this. One of the best lessons that you can learn is you don't always need somebody else. You may need a different way to look at the problem.
Ooh, explain.
Okay, so most business owners or most managers, I would say even more, business owners are usually like, we don't have any money, right? That's not, we don't even have budgets, but I guess we'd say it's not in the budget, but it was like, we would say along the lines, like we just can't afford somebody like that, right? That's a good way to put it. Because that's a very different mindset than an abundance mindset.
Yes.
And so we cannot afford a person for that. Well, that's fine. What problem are they solving? Great. What are the solutions that we have to solve that problem? Great. As a visionary, I promise you, if you sit with a problem, you're more likely to come up with an alternative solution that you may not need another person than it is to just easily say, well, it's more in how are we doing it? What's causing the problem? Let's go to the root. You'll go and you'll find these things and you probably don't need another person. Another piece of that is maybe there's a solution to where if that person is added, you can't afford them because they can't afford them to do that one job. But what jobs can they do? So when you look at solutions and you have people who are producers, are they doing operational pieces because they're not good at it? You need to have conversations with your team and your staff to find out exactly what they're doing. Also what you're doing, because the cost of adding somebody may be more than the cost of not having the revenue and the income, right? So if someone is costing you $30,000, if I said, Victoria, I'm gonna give you $1, or you give me $1 and I'll give you $3 back.
Okay.
How long are you doing that? As much as you can.
Yeah.
Right? You're gonna take that deal all day long.
Mm-hmm.
The problem we get caught in by not stepping back from the business owner and being the entrepreneur a lot of times is we have a problem that's going to cost $1 an hour to fix. XYZ dollars an hour, whatever you want to call it. And so we don't think, well, I wouldn't say that. We will think about what that brings to the table if we have the time to sit down to go through those. But if you're doing the doing and somebody says, hey, we need a person to, plant the widgets, you go to cost. You don't think about the pieces to do that because you're busy doing the doing. You're not busy seeing the future and seeing the vision. You have now changed the way that you see the business and see the world because you're doing something that's keeping you isolated from being the visionary.
Mm-hmm. It's like an emotional attachment to the things that are working or costing. Yeah.
You've trained yourself because guess what? To get off the ground, it's every penny counts, right? And I am not just advocating that every penny doesn't count, even if you're doing $1 billion a year. Okay. What I'm saying is that you have to have the mentality that you will figure it out. We lose that little bit of like fighter inside of us, and we get these risks built into us. And that's what happened to me the second time around when we had the dealerships, because I had this experience of failure, right? And I didn't want to go back into that. I dug myself out of this massive hole where I like to joke that I wished I was broke. Right? like it would have been, I was like, my dream was to be broke because I was so far in this hole, right? And so, but I had that experience. And so as I get the second time around, I use my talents and I use my go get 'emness to build the revenue side again. But I was terrified that I was going to make the wrong decisions. And I lost that little part of what a visionary's best qualities are. And when I read this book and I started reading about the things and just really feeding my head with what an entrepreneur is, what a visionary is, I was able to say, you know what? I've lost a bit of this. Like, I need to go back and get this. Like, I will figure this out. I believe in myself, right? And I think that that's part of the thing is that as we go and we expand, then we've had enough failures because we don't get it right all the time, right? Then we start making indecision. And that's where that phrase hit me so hard, was that I was worried about making the wrong decisions, and that's the wrong way to advance your business. The absolute best way to advance your business is make a decision, analyze, adjust. Okay? That's what we did as visionaries to get this business off the ground. We didn't know what we didn't know, right? And that's a beautiful trait to have when you're trying to build, right? But if you've been stung by a bee, you may never want to go near a bush again, right? And that's where all the fruit is. And you're like, man, I can't. What if I got stung? Maybe there's a better way to do this. Let me think about it. And you die because you never went over there and picked another fruit, right? So when you're looking at this indecision, you've got to get that confidence back inside of you. And then you need to offload the pieces of that other people can do better than you. And then have that faith in yourself that you'll be able to drive the thing, right? It doesn't always take money, but we have other capital, and it's between these ears, right? We have other capital in this chest because we don't know better. We're going to get it done, right? We believe in it. We believe in our mission. We believe in our passion piece. And so if you don't lay out a vision, if you've gotten stuck and you're in that kind of, I was talking about earlier, like that entrepreneurial journey where it's like you had to be everything, and then you're in this weird transition of like trying to be a visionary business owner. I'm not doing the thing I started to do, and they don't do it as well as I do, and I need to be in everything, and then I need to give up control, but I don't want to, and then I can do it. Like, you're in that kind of muck, right? The thing you got to remember is you are so valuable in your heart and in your head that the business needs you to do that, or if it stagnates. Businesses don't stay flat. They either die or live, right? And I would say this, that if you want to get some motivation, the thing you have to realize is we start these businesses as many times as passion projects, right? Or our contribution to the world or solving a problem, but they have value to them. They're the most valuable asset that you can push the ROI on your business faster than any other asset class in the world. It is the fastest, most controllable path to wealth in the world. But if you don't make that transition, it's also the easiest one to lose. And so you have to do that. It's your duty to go and to offload these things, to make those hard decisions, give them up, see what happens. Like you mentioned, you do a lot of your energy work. Find somebody and pass it off and see if it works. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's great. If it doesn't work, fix it, right? But have that realization that for you to get 3 multipliers and for you to support them, you have to give up the pieces where the control. And that's what's very terrifying, because it's very freeing once you've been able to do it, right? And you'll see that your businesses become a separate piece. You go from, there's a pathway, where you're self-employed to being a business owner to basically being an investor. And in the investor piece, you are now outside and you can work on the business. The cliche, right? We all drop on entrepreneurs when they're solopreneurs and twopreneurs and all that stuff. Like, I got to work on your business. You're like, are you kidding me, dude? There's 24 hours in a day and I'm using 27 of them. Like, are you kidding me right now? What do you mean work on my business? Well, that's the transition actually isn't there. And that's why I think a lot of the times we apply the wrong business tactics at the wrong time in a business cycle, right? They're not all blanketed by any means. I've been through all of them multiple times. I can pinpoint. I opened a company that never made $1, right? It happens. Like, you made mistakes, and I go, what did I do wrong? Well, I didn't know that the guy I was working for was going to sue me if I opened up the same company because I didn't read my employee packet. I was like, oh, okay. Well, now I know, right? I had this great idea on how to improve the business that he had, and he was like, no, you don't. I was like, oh, okay. Now I've learned a lesson. Checkbox, right? But if I hadn't taken the action, if I just sat there and thought I had a great idea, I wouldn't have learned to read that stuff. I wouldn't have learned to read fine lines and print and negotiate and that kind of stuff. And so it's one of the things that taking action, analyzing, and then adjusting. I found in my decision to make decisions that the stress and the anxiety and the weight of these decisions that I needed to make were piling up on me. Right. And it made me feel unhealthy. It made me feel irritable. It made me regret going to work. Right. But I found that when I started making the decisions, one, I felt better all the way around, mentally, spiritually, in my heart, physically. The business did better. That's the outcome. Right. But the piece that was even more important about making these decisions that I figured out was I wasn't more likely to be right in 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, or 6 months. I was the exact same amount of brain power that I had at the same time when I made the decision the first time, except I had wasted all this time to get better at it. I wasted the time, and if you waste the time, you waste the money. If you waste the money, you waste the revenue. You waste your business, and then you're frustrated and you feel stuck because you're not taking the leap. You're not trusting in yourself to be the visionary. That's what you do. You see things that aren't there, and guess what? You're wrong sometimes, but you can't burn your hand on that burner and keep not thinking you can go back past that burner, because you can. Everybody else stops. That's why 3% of the population is visionaries, and they create over 60% of the new jobs in the country. Okay. You have to be able to get stung a few times, because if you don't have that trait inside of you, it may not be for you. There are people who work in 9 to 5s and they say, I want to go open up a business. My best advice for you would be do it as a side hustle. And the first, one of the first reactions is, I don't have enough time. You know what my answer to that is?
Please tell.
You ain't ready. Because if you think it's a 9 to 5 when you become a business owner and you have to wear all the hats, right? This doesn't turn off.
Ever.
It's 24/7, 365, even when you want it to be. And I'm not advocating for working in your business 24/7, 365, because I did that. It was awful. Now I value my time more than anything because I knock down big dominoes. I do the hard things that I'm supposed to do. But if you think, I think it's it's 168 hours in a week. And if you think 40 of them are going to be enough to be an entrepreneur when you start a business from scratch, it probably didn't cut out for you.
Wow.
And so you need to realize before dreaming and going and say, hey, my 9 to 5, I'm quitting and starting a company. If you can't hack another 20 hours a week out, it's going to be very difficult for you to succeed. If you've got contracts and those kinds of things, it's a different story. But the majority of people, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to try first, because it is not for everyone. It's very difficult and can be very time consuming and money consuming and spiritual consuming and brain consuming and family consuming. Okay. It takes a lot of things away, but I will say this, there's no other journey like it.
Oh, it's the best. And it's interesting though, because you got me thinking about how people love to talk about starting a business. People love to talk about their dreams, their visions, their goals. I have this idea. And that it's like the fact that you have this idea that's the win or something. Mm-hmm. It's as if they're looking at that's the win of, I have this goal card. I have this vision board of like, especially my tribe as well, because we're doing more of a like the conscious visioning work. And with this challenge that I'm doing next week, like we're having this conversation around being visionary in the practice of being a Reiki master. When you start learning to do it, there's these things called the 5 Reiki principles, and they all begin with the same phrase: just for today, I will. And it's 5 different things that you will do every single day, but it's just for today, I will. It's not, oh, maybe, next week or by the end of the quarter or at some time, when I make it or something like that. No. Just for today, I will. Like, this is what I'm doing. It's an action-based practice. And so taking that in, like, that's why I want to have a challenge around this. This is what you're talking about, Cody, is that it's learning through immersion. It's learning on your feet. It's building it as you go. If you think that getting around in a group and rah-rahing about, oh yeah, start a business or build it, or oh yeah, one day we're going to be visionary, or like, oh, read this book, go read a book. No. If you're gonna read a book, go read it because you're gonna do something. Like you're like, tell me, what am I going to actually implement and execute and integrate and digest and make real today, versus just kind of dangling a carrot. You're just one carrot away from like finally achieving your vision. Like this, the need for action and learning as you move through it. There's a certain kind of knowledge that can only come in the doing, is what I've found for myself personally. And what I love also about what you said, Cody, of being the decision maker and remembering that, that's my role. I'm in the thick of the mindset shift from no, I'm not the one who's actually going in there and coding the funnel. That's not my role. I'm the one who decides about that. So that it's a bridge for me that I am crossing, and I have our community crossing that bridge with me, should you choose to. And if that's something that, like, as you're watching in, everyone, that you're like, you know what, I want to make that mindset shift, jump into the challenge, please, because I'm not an expert on this. And that's why I'm having these conversations with visionaries like you, Cody. Not that you are the smartest person on the planet, but you are someone who I love and trust and who is open-hearted enough to say, this is what the situation is from what I've seen in my experience. And that fills me up. It gives me the fuel that I need to just keep going on the journey. I believe in being journey partners. No one's like some expert who's figured it all out.
Absolutely not. I will never ever claim to know it all. I promise you that. That's why I lead off with, like, I blew it all up a couple times. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you to think like, I don't want to sit here and be like, I've done this and just listen to what I say. Like, no, I've lived some massively bad things by not knowing. And so what I want to do is pass that on. And what I wanted to say is, you kind of touched on something, Victoria, that this is a full on mindset shift that is culturally relevant to today, right? Ooh, yeah. Knowledge is power is the most false statement available today. Okay. 20 years ago, could not be more real. 20 years ago, couldn't be more real. You want to know how to paint a house? You better find a painter that's been painting for 30 years and learn, right? You want to know how to build a printing business? You got to go work in a printing business for 10 years, right? And figure it out and hopefully know how to do this. But you know what? With the internet at our fingertips, We all got the same knowledge available now.
Yep.
Now, what that has done is leveled the mental playing field for knowledge. So the action takers are the ones that will rule the world.
You better drop that mic.
You know who taught me that? My 7-year-old son taught me that.
Oh my gosh! Tell me how? Okay,
I just watch him. Okay. When he needs to know something, he knows how to go find it. Same thing with my 9-year-old daughter. They do not think the way that we do. Fundamentally different thinkers. Not in a little bit of way, not in like, oh, my kids are smart, like I love all that stuff too. But what I'm saying is they think differently. They don't need to learn something to apply it. They just need to figure out where they want to apply it and then learn it and do it. Right? Like and the story behind that, when I really realized like how they consume things, I was in a hotel. My son was 4 years old. I had just quit my job out of the blue. I quit my dream job. We got in a car the next morning and went to Stone Mountain, Georgia. We're in the hotel, and they turn the TV on, and he's like, I'm like, hey buddy, your show's on in 10 minutes. He's like, just put it on now. I'm like, no, it's on in 10 minutes. He goes, just put it on now. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. And he was like, how's it work? I go, well, somebody in New York or LA decides what you should watch, when you should watch it, and what channel it'll be on. And he's looking at me, and I'm like, I get it, dude. Your way's a lot better, right? But he never even he didn't understand what TV was. And I mean, you want to feel like a dinosaur real fast? Try explaining TV to a 5-year-old, then being like, wow, you don't even know what it is. So we are here thinking. Listen, I spoke with one of Tony Robbins' top coaches for 10 years. I had him on the thing, and he was talking about, man, reprogramming yourself and reprogramming yourself and reprogramming yourself. And finally, I stopped him, and I said, I don't want to know how to reprogram myself. I want to know how to program my kids. Because if they don't need to learn the reprogram at 20, 30, or 40 years old, they have an extra 20, 30, or 40 years with an abundance mindset or an entrepreneurial challenge mindset. They're going to light the world on fire, whatever they choose to do. I was like, we don't need to have these programs built into us. We choose what we bring in for the programs. So if you are sitting there and you have that idea of this business you want to own, you better stop wishing it's going to happen for you and take the action to do it. You don't need to know how to do it. That's the mindset. It's not knowledge is power. It's at your fingertips. If I want to know how to put a roof on a house, I can watch 3 YouTube videos the next 10 minutes and probably be pretty decent at understanding the concepts of how to do it, right? I may not be able to physically know how to do it yet or find the wood, but those are things that the how-to is no longer the roadblock that it used to be. The how-tos are easy. It's up here, right? It's the seeking and going and doing and taking an action and being able to put yourself out on risk, right? I think a lot of that comes from the social media piece, right? Where we're afraid to be like, hey, I'm out here starting a business. Oops, I failed, right? Like, we don't want to do that. We want to be Instagram, billionaires and be like, check out this thing I rented, It's like, no, man. Like, you need to get out and take the actions of it and expect to fail. And I don't mean expect to fail like you're not going to make it. I mean, expect to find failures and fix them, because you either succeed or you learn. And if you quit, you fail. So if you go into this world with caution of saying, hey, I don't want to do this because I might fail, it might not be for you yet. You got some work to do. Because if you go into this, when I go into trying something new in a business or trying to open up a business or trying to do something inside of a business, I'm like, I think I got it right? But I'm going to find out real quick. And I'm going to find out today if I'm right or I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to find out why I was wrong. And then I'm going to try it a different way. And that mentality is what visionaries have when we start our businesses. When they transition, many times we start going, well, I don't want to make the wrong decision. Well, that would affect this. Or what if I had to do this after that? And you don't make the decision for months, if ever, right? If you are out there and you're thinking about, man, I want to try to open this business, why don't you challenge yourself? Do Victoria's challenge and say, you know what? Today's the day. Like, I'm gonna take a shot at this. And if you fail, go down epically, right? Go down swinging. That's my life has been like, man, I'm not gonna go down wishing I had tried to do something. I'm gonna try and do it. And you know what? I'll be honest with you, more people relate with me when I start talking about my failures in the businesses, right?
Yeah. It's
same thing with money talkers. The same thing I do with money talkers in my pocket. Like I openly talked about how bad of a hole I was in when I started talking to my friends, and they were like, they started opening up to me. And I realized that we put up these walls around these things, and then we just try to put on a face and say, no, I don't have these problems. I always laugh at this one thing, Victoria. I'll tell you this real quick. I don't know if you've ever been to like a BNI or a Chamber of Commerce, like mixer, right?
Yes.
I would pay money if you could get everybody to tell the truth at one of those things. My God, do you know how much we could solve with all the brain power in that building?
Oh my God.
Do you know how much gets solved inside that brain power in building? Zero, because everybody's like, everything's fine. Everything's great. Business is good. How's your business? You know, Bob, here's my business card. Like, no, man. Like, hey, how's business? Dude, I have been getting killed on payroll fees. Like, I don't even know what to do. You know, or it's like, or man, I think I've been trying to do SEO and I'm learning it myself. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. You know, and it's like, if you just got some truth out of the entrepreneurs to where they were saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and admit to where I've made my mistakes, but I could learn if we would share the knowledge together. Right. And that's what I think what's so special about what you're doing with doing a challenge, right? Because you're going into it saying, hey, I'm going to try my idea. But if you have the mentality like, it's 100% okay and probably expected to fail at some of this stuff and release that pressure of I have to get it all right to start with, you will be far and away more successful than if you sit on the sideline and never take your swing.
100%.
Right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
What I love about what you're saying is that this is the total opposite of what we are programmed to perceive failure as. So think of it. The average person gets around a good 20 years of education.
Yeah.
And on a grade scale,
miseducation, if you want my word.
Yes. Myron calls it the misdirectional, miseducational indoctrination. Something. Byron, I love you, by the way. But like, oh my gosh. So you get taught to believe that if you're going to be a success, you're going to get an A on somebody else's version of what a A is, and that an F is a failure. And if you fail, you're an idiot. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself. Your parents are going to be mad. The other kids, other people aren't going to respect you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas what we're talking about right here is learning through failure.
100%. Expect if I honestly say this, if you're not failing at some things, you're not trying hard enough.
That's right.
Right? You're not shooting big enough. You need bigger goals. You need bigger challenges, because if you're not doing some failing, then you're really not you're not living to your potential.
100%. What is it? Dan Kennedy saying, if you aren't pissing somebody off once a day, you're not marketing hard enough. Like, go for it.
Yeah.
But so much of this patterning BS, and I love that, like, you're educating your children from the jump that they can have the right programming. And I love that through your podcast, Money Talkers, by the way, everyone check out Money Talkers podcast, that you're letting people know that we can have from day one the right mindset, so that you don't have to reprogram, do the hokey pokey, turn yourself around, and boop, one day you'll have like a brain that works, so you'll be successful. Instead, like, let's learn the way that nature intended it. When we were out in the jungle as hunters, right, naturally, back in the Paleolithic era, we learned you don't go in the tar pit, because look, Bill went in the tar pit and he died.
100%.
Thanks, Bill. Right? Or you don't like hang out with the saber-toothed tiger because, all right, Mary went over there and went to pet it and it bit off her arm. Great. I have the rest of my body. I can still have children. I'm married, but I ain't got no arm. But all right. So she learned, and then times like 10,000 generations, and here we are. Like, but our ancestors knew, just because we were more connected to our mammalian nature, being out there, that there was no school, there was no formalized education, and from there, life was what taught you, and life teaches through failure, and failure is a gift. What Abraham Hicks should describe it as contrast, and you can become grateful for contrast, because the minute that you know what you don't want is the very same minute that you knew what you do want. The very minute that you learn what doesn't work, you're like, that's going off the list. Like, how would Thomas Edison have created the light bulb without, it was 10,000 failed experiments? He's like, all right, that didn't work, that didn't work, that. You can imagine at number 8,752, he stopped, he wouldn't even have electricity. But the key feeling is what brought a whole new quantum leap, right, to humanity. And so it's coming back to this embracing of failure. I'm really glad that you brought that up, Cody, because
it's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Right? It's a badge of honor, because it's like, I know that I'm trying. Mm-hmm. Right? As a visionary, as somebody who wants to accomplish things and have my stamp in the world, if I don't have some wrong decisions, I'm not making enough of them. Mm-hmm. And that's worse for me. Mm-hmm. Right? The I'm not doing things is worse than the I'm doing things wrong, because now I know how not to do them, or I gotta. Sometimes you do your things and your ideas work out. And what's really funny at this point in my life, like, I really don't even celebrate the workouts very much. Like, it's like, oh, that's check. Like, I want to try. I need to try something new to challenge myself. Like, and I want that. So sometimes when I get those, man, that didn't work, and it's like, what did I do wrong? And now I get to think, and now I get to go back to fixing and solving problems. But now I have more data, right? And I didn't have that data until I tried it. And so what I loved about your description, though, about, with the saber-tooth tiger and with the tar pits, right? Imagine if every one of those hunters was just on their own all the time. There wouldn't be a Bob to see it burned into the tar pits, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a value to being able to be open and be a hunting pack, right? The hunters are going to be the providers. So if you're going to sit in the village and wait, just know you're going to get the pieces of what they bring back, right? But if you're going to go out and you're going to challenge yourself to be an entrepreneur, to be a visionary, then it's 100% okay not to go at it alone. And I would suggest not to do it at alone, because I did that and I didn't learn any lessons. And then I learned one really big lesson, right? Should have learned, right? And so when you do things together, there's encouragement, but there's also a value to, all right, one person got their arm bit off by the tiger. Now the rest of us know not to do that. Mm-hmm. But if you go alone all the time and one person gets their arm bit off by the tiger, you might go over and pet the tiger too, because you don't know any better, right? And you have to go through those lessons. And what that takes is, that's not a failure, or it's not a slight on you. Like, there's this badge we wear, like, I figured everything out on my own. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a visionary. It's like, no, dude. Like, sometimes being a visionary is saying, okay, what problem is in my company? Who can help me solve that problem? And how can I learn from their experiences so that I can do it faster? I can do it easier, right? And that's the part that I think a lot of people fail at. And that's why I was laughing about saying, if they went in there and had the truth in that little, Chamber of Commerce meeting or BNI meeting, because there's 40 people or 50 or 100 people in there with all these brain sets that want the same things, right? They all want to be successful at business, but they're afraid. They're afraid to tell the truth, and they're afraid to learn from each other. And so what you've done by putting a community together to challenge people to go out and, go chase that dream, take that swing. What my dad said to me all my whole life was, you can never steal second with your foot on first. And we do that. I want to steal second. I want to steal second. I want to steal second. But if I run, I might get out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might. And if you get out, you learn how the pitcher threw it. You learn how the catcher threw it. You learn what their little signals were. You learned all the stuff. And then the next time you're on first base and you take off running, you're a little better at it. Mm-hmm. Right? And so if you have that, I don't know if this is for me thing, you're never going to know if it's for you if you don't challenge yourself to do it. And that's way worse. Mm-hmm. Right? You're never going to be sitting on that deathbed, hopefully a long, long time from now going, I'm really glad I didn't pursue that great idea I think I had. Right? Take your shot, man. Shoot your shot. It's fun, if anything. It's better than Netflix.
Oh, my gosh. Cody, I love you. This is so amazing. And I'm so grateful to get to have a friend like you because we can talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can talk about this kind of stuff. It's not Bill or Mary alone in the desert with saber-toothed tigers. You know, it gets old getting crunched on.
We're getting crunched on. We're getting crunched on by something big together, right?
Yeah. We can take it down.
Something new. Facebook slap or something. I don't know.
Oh, God. But like, and I love that we're having this conversation now in this situation, you know, like this, having these conversations leading up to a challenge. Like I've done 15 challenges before. No, I've done 14. This is the 15th time. And this is the complete rebrand of the vision of what I'm doing. Before it was all about how to be a master manifester and working with the law of attraction to make more shift happen. And then I attracted entrepreneurs who wanted to manifest money. And so it became the Entrepreneur Master Manifestor Challenge. And so we were helping people to manifest money challenge after challenge after challenge. I mean, we've had that group going and doing challenges for the last 7 years straight. There are some people in that group, actually a couple of the visibility sponsors like you who I've been having conversations with, Dana and Julie, who've been there since day one and done almost all of those challenges with me. And this iteration of it, of the Be Visionary challenge, I feel is the strongest one because this language is about being like, it's not about anything outside of you, but really stepping into something that I believe is inside of every entrepreneur, right? That's really here. It's purpose driven and heart centered, is that there's a visionary inside of you that it's time for you to be.
You need to re-believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
You want what I see the most?
Tell me.
Is that we give up a little bit on ourselves, right? And we start to feel that risk a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we start to question whether we're going to make the good decisions or we're going to figure it out, or no, I can't do that because I have people that work for me. And, you know, what if I couldn't challenge? I need to think about it. I don't want to make the misstep. And you start to lose a little bit of that piece that makes you great. Mm-hmm. Right. And then there's another piece to where, like, if you're on the sidelines and you think that's what you are, there's a kind of a little piece that's dying there, that's just wanting to go. You know what I mean? Sorry, we're having a thunderstorm here. It's little lights are flickering a little bit, but you know, it's there's a little piece there where it's like that questioning of yourself, and neither one of those sit very well. And I think as an entrepreneur, as a visionary, as somebody who wants to be those things, it's you know, you have a duty to yourself and the people who the problems you will solve to try. Right. You need to get that rebelief, or you need to take that first step. And I think that if you are okay with the things that we talked about today, with failing, right, expecting to fail, but having a plan to do those things. You know, you mentioned earlier about, like, people like to talk about their dreams, right? Well, having a support system of people that have already followed them, one, but two, having a plan to go after those dreams. 3, analyze your plan more than the first time you made it. Okay. Readjust your plan because you've gotten smarter, right? I can't tell you how many times I've read the same book and it's a different book.
Oh my God. Yes.
I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad 4 times in my life, and it's a different book every time I read it. I'm like, you know, and like we said earlier, like with education, where we program these things, there's a line in there that just always sticks with me, which is, my banker has never asked me for my report card. Right. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's pretty true.
I've never heard that one. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. So that's, you know, there's 6 or 7, I think they're even expanded now, ways that we learn, and we try to fit everybody in this one traditional box. And so they say, okay, well, listen, if you don't have these challenges, then go trade your time for money, because that's definitely the least efficient way to do it, right? And so if you begin to focus on results and you begin to focus on what you're solving and how valuable is the thing that you're solving, and believing in it and driving towards that and having the vision to get there, you become kind of an unstoppable piece, right? But if you don't, and you start questioning yourselves, which is what happens along that entrepreneurial piece, because you've had some failures and you forget to think about it that way, then you start to question yourselves a little bit. It takes longer, or it's very frustrating. You feel stuck, all these things come into play. And then you start to micromanage, which is one of the worst things a visionary can do. You need to macro manage, right? You need to think big. You need to place vision in front of people and drive with passion so that they will follow you. The how-tos will find themselves out. I promise you. You don't need to know the how-tos. If I could drive that home enough, if I want, Victoria, I think about opening 3 different businesses every single day of my life, right? Like yesterday I was looking at a Buffalo Wings and things, and I was looking at, and then I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, I should do an insurance business. That'd be cool. And I was like, and I'm just thinking about these things, but there are no limitations to what I think that I could accomplish in a business once I figure out the frameworks of businesses, right? And so I can walk in and have conversations with business owners knowing absolutely nothing about their industry, because I don't care. How-tos will figure themselves out. How-tos are what stop most people from starting businesses.
Oh. I don't know if I should open this can of worms with you. Because what just dropped in, and I don't know, maybe we're going to have a part 2 or a part 5. Because what just dropped in, I'm going to open this loop and see what happens, is there's that has emerged on how-toing and an addiction to learning how to. And I'm saying it's the coaching industry. There's this thing
we use that term a little too loosely in my mind, but
yeah. Well, and it turns us into coachaholics.
Yeah.
Where people will go from program to program to program of, I'm going to get ready, and I'm going to learn 10 steps to get ready, and I'm going to do 7 steps to a turnaround, and I'm going to unleash my power within, and then I'm going to do it again and again and again and again. And it's like, when do you get to be powerful? I've been to UPW and I've walked on fire and I love it, and I've done it twice, right? But at the same time, there's this quote. I don't know if this word exists yet, but I know, like, for the last couple of years, it's been something that's been coming up for me personally as a coachaholic. I'll put that in the air. I've been around like a good $250,000 like somehow in coaching thus far. But it's like there's an entire industry that has sprung up around this penchant for people to love knowledge as power, and to pay to continue to acquire knowledge as power rather than to share and like take action and to solve the problems. Instead, they'll just keep learning and learning, or inventing, but never delivering and distributing. I don't know if I should go there.
Dan Henry has the best term I've heard for all of it, which is quantifiable end result. Right? Do you start with the end in mind? You want to go back to Stephen Covey, because that's one of the 7 habits of highly efficient people, right? And so if you are starting into being a coachaholic or a recovering coachaholic, or all those things, what is your goal? If you don't set a plan and a goal, that's why I talked earlier, like the goal was open a company. Okay, great. Now let's back into how to do it. You want me to show you how to 2x the value of your company? I can do it in 10 minutes, right? Because I can take and say, okay, where are you at now? Where do you need to be to 2x it? Now let's figure out the how-tos. It's easy. That's the worst part about the whole thing, is that there's people selling how hard it is to do, and I did it, so do it my way, and I'll pay me to tell you how I did it my way. It don't work that way. The how-tos are simple. Okay. You may need mindset shifts. You may need these coaching programs. I'm not saying they're not valuable. I went through a coaching program to launch a podcast. You know why I did it? Because the information was out there, but I felt like I needed the accountability. And if I paid for something, I would freaking do it. Right. If you pay attention. That's the one of the lines that's out there. Right.
Yep.
But I also had a quantifiable end result is that I wanted to launch a podcast and I want to be in the top 100 and I want to help families talk about money in their households. I got a quantifiable end result. I want to launch a podcast because I'm going to try and make money and I'll figure it all out. No, that ain't quantifiable, right? That doesn't have an end result to it. And so we get hung up in these how-tos, right? Buy my diet program and I'll show you how to lose weight. That's an entire multi-billion dollar industry.
Yep.
Right? I will teach you how to be successful. What does that mean? By now. Right? I will teach you how to be a business owner. You're getting closer, right? Now, I will teach you how to take the idea you have and apply it to the world and give you the steps along the way so that you can have a business built on your own merit and the things that you apply through the things that we teach you, but you will have a business at the end of this challenge. Quantifiable end result. It's different. So when I see things, the problem that I see with the coaching part of it is that it's way more fun to sell the dream than it is to sell the reality. Okay. The reality is it's going to be tough. The reality is there's going to be hard work. Okay. There's no magic pill to being a multi-millionaire coach that you see these guys, because guess what most of them are selling? Dreams of being a multi-millionaire coach. That's how they get their money. That's how they got their money.
Yep.
Right? They're selling a dream of how to get rich, right? And they're selling back on the same community over and over and over again. And until what you'll see is one of them will break away and start selling back in the community, and now that guy is a successful person, right? And none of them are they just have this masses of people that are like, I just want better than my life. I want it to be easy too, to get out better of my life. And you know what? The truth is, it takes some work, man.
Yeah.
Right? It takes some decision making. It takes some hard work. It takes some self-reflection. It takes some ideation with work. You have to take the step. No one's going to get you in and just be like, yeah, this thing's super easy. Right? Like, here's my 9 steps to being a multi 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure business owner. All right. Like driving around Grant Cardone's like $1 billion sales. I've scaled to billions. Like, dude, you know how many $1 billion companies there are? Like, come on, man. Like 99% of companies are going to get to less than, barely at a 6 figures. And so how do you run a 6-figure business? Well, you can't go to billions without going to 7 figures, right? Or multi 6 figures. And so if you have a goal and you say, okay, that's where a visionary comes in, because you need to set that goal. You need to set that vision. Then you need to say to the team, this is how we're getting there, or this is where we're going. And then use them to say how we're going to get there. Right? That's a hard thing to do as a visionary, is to humble yourself to say other people have better ideas than I do, because they do. And you know what? We come up, what is it? The stat I think in Traction talks about that you come up with 10 ideas and like 8 of them are complete. They're okay. One of them is probably going to sink your company. And then one is freaking amazing. Right. And so that's where the operator comes in to say, no. Ooh. Right? Right. And then it's like, okay, how do we do that? Well, the how-to is, that's like I said, that's why I find it to be easy. Is like, how are we going to do that? Let's try this. Anybody got a better idea? Yeah, we could try this. So one of the 3 things, I call it the 3 Ds, right? You define, you discuss, and you make a decision. Okay. So you define what you want to do. You define where you want to go. You discuss it. So you openly put it on the floor. If somebody doesn't agree with it, and we've had this happen in multiple times where I am the last one who is disagreeing with the way to accomplish it, and 9 other people are like, yeah, that's the way we got to do it. I'm like, all right, then we make the decision. Once the decision's made, we all row in the same direction. No more malicious obedience, right? No more walking out of a meeting going, this ain't going to work. You had your time to talk. You had your time to say that. That's in the discuss piece. And your team has to be open to be able to talk about it. Or if you don't have a team yet, your family, right? You're always shooting it down. Like, no, they're building up points of what may go wrong, and you need to solve those points. Like, that's valuable information and feedback. Right? But once you make the decision, you do it 100%, and then you analyze and adjust. And if you can do those things repeatedly, then you will find out, and you do them consistently, you'll find out that you're consistently making strides in the company. And then all of a sudden, you know, I interviewed the guy that wrote the software for Carvana, right?
Oh, yeah.
Largest used car company in the world, taking over. Like, it's an amazing like way to buy cars, and they deliver them and all that stuff. And it was like, yeah, it took me 10 years. He's like, and then Carvana bought my software, and all of a sudden I was an overnight success.
10-year overnight success.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's and that was kind of pretty eye-opening, because he went through the Stanford program where like Google and all those things, and like he started off, he was just flipping cars while in school trying to make some extra money, and he decided to write a software program to do it for him because he was getting overwhelmed with time commitments, and it turned into Carvana, the largest car company in the world. But his point was, you know, you've got to try, you know, and it's what you said earlier. Like, what if you'd stopped after 9 years, you know, what if then it wouldn't have made the impression on the world, but what if you'd never tried? What if he was like, hey, I got this great idea. We could deliver cars and people don't have to go to dealerships, and they could see straightforward pricing. We could buy their cars. We could drop them off. We could make vending machines with cars in it. Like, what? And then boom, right? You got to have that vision and that belief, and then you got to, and then you know what they figured out later was how to do it, right? And so I find that to be one thing that holds most people back. Well, I don't know. I want to open up a painting company. Well, I don't know how to run a business. Well, it wasn't like there was some dude. Like, it wasn't like Moses was back and being like, "This is how you run a business." Like, people just tried and figured it out, dude. Like, or they went and learned from the tribe, right? Like, you don't. There's not a, you know. That's the thing. Like, it's experiential. Like, and it may be different. And guess what? Even here's a little secret. Even if everybody's doing it one way, it might not be the right way.
Exactly. Right? Yes.
If all the herd's running one way, you run the other way, there's blue ocean over there, right? There's money to be made. The riches are in the niches, right? So maybe you become a painter of brick buildings, and no one's doing that in town. And there's, you know, whatever it is. I don't even know. Maybe you want to teach painting classes. I have no idea what your thing is, but like, I do know that if you leave your idea on the table, it's going to stay there.
Oh, Cody, this is so good. And as usual, I know this is only the tip of the iceberg. So I'm going to bring us to ground, because this is only the tip of the iceberg on your wisdom. And I'm actually going to go back and rewatch this whole thing, and so that I can actually sit down and take the notes, and then shout out to my friend Andrew Mellon, dictate my notes into Asana so that the rest of my team, Jennifer and everyone, can see it so we can execute, right? But like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to get to have this conversation today. It's Friday. On Monday is when the challenge starts, where we get to take all of what we're talking about right now as a community of conscious entrepreneurs that are scaling up so that we can serve more people. We can take this and execute each day. Like, the vision for the challenge is at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, every day next week, Monday through Friday, we're going to come together on Zoom. at 7, and then for the VIPs, and then 7:30 is general admission, which is streaming in the Facebook group. But it's to hold each other accountable to what did you do today to be the vision? How are you being the visionary? On day 1, the theme is in your physical, like your physical body, how you're taking care of yourself physically. What are you doing to stop yourself physically from being visionary? Are you eating crap food? Are you standing with a crap posture, right? That type of a thing. What actions can you do today to be visionary in your physical body? Day 2 is for your mental, like what mentally is in the way of you being visionary? And that's around storytelling. So we're going to tell the story and tell the story of our lives, our days, our businesses from a visionary standpoint of like, rather than talking crap about myself or talking down or second guessing, if I was on the TED stage right now and I was going to describe what's going on, that's how we're going to really master our words so that we can master our minds on day 2. Day 3 is emotionally. What emotionally is standing in the way from you being the visionary? And that's all about how you fuel yourself, right? How do you keep your energy up? How do you sustain the fuel in your tank so that you can go and talk to your team and also receive all of their feedback so that they can get things done? So that's day 3. Day 4 is more of an environmental block of what around you is stopping you from being the visionary. What systems, what automations, what things in your physical environment, is there clutter, etc., that's stopping you from really being about your vision, right? Stop trying to be about your vision while being in other people's spaces and letting other people's agendas take up your calendar. So that's day 4. And then day 5 is directional. And so that's the alignment. How are you aligning on a day-to-day basis? How are you aligning that day just for today? Are you headed in the right direction, right? Are you headed in the right direction? We're going to make sure that we remove any directional blocks between people being the visionary. We hold each other accountable. And then on Saturday is the bonus day. In the morning, we're going to talk about any financial barriers between them being the visionary. So that's especially for some of our entrepreneurs. I don't know why you would go into business and have a problem with selling things, but we're going to talk about we're going to talk about getting that out of the way on the bonus day as well. And that's what the vision for this challenge is, to hold each other accountable in a stacked way to being the vision and being the visionary in your company, in your life, in your family. So
man, I love that, Victoria. That, you are a true visionary. You've created something out of nothing, and in your nature as well is to help people. And so it's pretty awesome what you're doing. I know that in your heart, because of many conversations you and I have had. I find that just to be really, really rewarding, and also that I believe in intentionality very much on not just what people do, but why they do it. And I know that for you, you've been doing it so long with such a purpose that it's manifested itself into what it is today for you. But I know that your intentionality of bringing this to the world so that you can make the world a better place, I know that's in there. And so you doing that and then mixing that with being the visionary that you are, that's where really special things happen. So I wish you guys the best of luck to go out there and crush that stuff. And I think that you really nailed it on the head on the topics that you're going through, because many times we place our own barriers, right? We are the ones that stop us. It's really weird, but I'm glad you're doing it in a group setting too, because one of the things that is really weird about being the visionary is that it can be lonely.
Yes. Okay.
Right. People can't see your vision, and we don't like you. And that's one of the reasons, like every time you and I talk, I get all energized and I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm pumped up because like I have somebody else who's looking through the matrix with me. Right. And it's like, yeah, okay, great. Yeah. Oh, wait, what? You want to geek out on this stuff? And it's like, yeah, like it's fun, And it's like, and so I think it's really cool that you're doing it in that group setting, because like, it can be very lonely to be there and then think that your ideas are out there, or it's also very you question yourself a lot, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, am I doing the right thing? Like, am I crazy? Like, why am I doing this? Right? I just did a 9 to 5. I could probably make XYZ dollars and I wouldn't have all this headache. I don't tell you right now, if you're built the way I'm built, it's not the way to go, because you need to go chase and hunt and make the world a better place.
Yep.
So I think what you're putting out there is awesome. And I think that the setting that you're doing it in, with having that group talk and then realizing, it's not how to be successful. It's what's stopping you from being successful, because you are the one that determines it. I don't care how many roadmaps I give you. If you don't drive on the map, you ain't getting to where you're supposed to go. Okay. So I love it. Thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure, brother. Yeah. And everyone that's watching, and thank you for sticking with us for this incredible, oh my gosh, jam session. Join us at the challenge. It's in the description of this video, wherever it is on Facebook, in the description. We would love to see you there, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye, everyone.
Take action.